Jay Garner was the first American to be in overall control of Iraq after the launch of Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was director of the Office of Reconstruction and Humanitarian Assistance in Iraq in 2003. And having been there at the start, General Garner gave us his insights into the current troubles there.
Number one, the Arab Iraq that we created became an instrument and an ally of Iran, not an instrument and ally of the United States. And if we are able to put that same Iraq back together, it will be the same, an instrument and an ally of Iran and not ours. And the second thing is the ISIS problem is a far, far greater problem for Iranians than it is for us. They cannot afford to have a Sunni terrorist ISIS element on their border. And you got to remember, Iran's only got two Arab friends. One is Syria. The other is Arab Iraq. In other words, Assad and Maliki. The Iranians are already advising the Iraqis. The Quds Force or the Revolutionary Force Guards went there over a week ago with their commanding general, General Soleimani. So I don't know who we're going to advise and who they're going to advise. Plus, we already got creep. Last week it was 275 Marines. This week it's 300 advisors. I don't know what next week's going to be, but you can't accomplish anything with a small commitment. So to accomplish anything, it has to grow. And I don't think that's in our best interest to let that grow.
Well, General, what do you see happening in the next several weeks?
I think there's a couple of things that are going to happen, and then a couple of things that we need to do. First of all, I don't think ISIS has the power to take Baghdad. You see them now slowing down as they hit the Shia towns. What they've taken so far and been very successful in their Sunni towns, where the Sunnis are generally in support of them because they hate Malikis and they hate Baghdad so much. So I think they'll probably run out of gas and they'll have to go back and they'll have to reconsolidate in the towns that they took. And over time, as they impose a very severe Sharia law on the Sunnis, the tribal chiefs will get tired of that and they'll kick them out of there, just like they kicked them out of Anbar in 2007, 2008. But I think right now there's a couple of things we need to do. Number one, we need to ensure the survival of Kurdistan. They're democratically elected. They have elections 10 years for the Iraqis. They have a constitution. They're the most pro-American people in the world. They sit on huge amounts of oil reserves, and they're strategically located where they have our enemies to the east, our enemies to the west, our enemies to the south, and a NATO ally to the north. So we ought to preserve them. We ought to even consider making them a protectorate or doing that jointly with the Turks. And that would defang any claim of nationalism on there. I think operationally, the wisest move we can make right now is to go in and arm the Kurds as we did the Iraqi army, because if necessary, and we needed the Kurds to attack from the north, that would put ISIS in a two-front war, one in the south, one in the north, and they can't win that one. So we ought to right now be modernizing or helping the Kurds, providing them with. And finally, right now we ought to, for the first time in this administration, do some forward planning and make sure that we can protect, defend, and retain the state of Jordan and Abdullah, because he's the only Arab friend that we have.
All right, General Jay Garner, we appreciate your perspective and your insight. Thank you so much for joining us from the U.S. state of Florida.
Yeah, thanks. Good talking to you.